Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you've clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. This video is going to be something a bit different. It's not a Let's Play, it's more of a vlog on a game that I like to play, which is Pokemon Masters X. I've been having this idea rattling around for a little while, and I thought, yeah, today's the day. So what I'm going to be doing is go through the week that was on Pokemon Masters X. So first off, we had a couple of events this week. The Dragon event for Champion Iris ended. I didn't really do a lot on that because I'd already got all of the items that I wanted. So I would do the daily battle every day to get like 450 tokens and then spend them all. I got a few half decent items. I didn't get a bronze ticket out of it, but when you've got odds of 1 in 800, what can you do? You also had the Palkia event still ongoing. I've already finished that one as well, so I've not been putting any stamina into that. You've had the Blissful Bonanza event this week, where you have a daily battle against some Blissies, Chanseys and Happinies. So that was alright for a couple of minutes every day. I've not yet spent my tokens from that one, my items. I'm thinking about whether I'm going to go for Lucky Cookies or whether I'm going to get some Great Drinks Plus with my top tier ones, because I need them for levelling up my units to 130. On Thursday, because it was April Fool's Day, you had a Team Break takeover. That was an interesting little event, and I'm quite happy with that because it was something a bit different. We've also had the start of the Extravaganza event to introduce Lopunny and May and Burr with Togepi. Really tempted to get May in that bunny outfit because she looks so adorable and her legs are really long. That's the two things that stand out for me. I thought it was funny that Burr was like, yes, we have both chosen outfits that reflect the Pokemon with us, and it's like, okay, I get her with the bunny ears. What are you doing? You don't have like any eggshells on you. You don't have any like markings from Togepi. So, what effort are you putting in, Burr? What effort are you putting in? You also get a full force battle with that event. I'll probably go into that one a bit more next week. I'm planning to do this as a bit of a weekly series, so I'll go through how I beat that in the next one. The main thing that I want to talk about today is the Champion Stadium. It's the last week of the Johto event. Next week we're going to have it a lot more easy because we won't have to deal with parameters. You just need to get as many types through as you can. Max you can do is 15, and then you'd only have to find another 3 for the next week. But if you're not feeling it, you can balance it out a bit more. But anyway, this is how I beat this week's one for 7,500 points. I want to say at this point that a lot of credit should go to the Pokemon Masters subreddit. If you play the game a lot and you haven't already been on that subreddit, I recommend checking it out. There's a lot of useful information on there. A lot of the strategies that I'm putting forward have at least something to do with the people who post on there. They do a really good job, and there's a lot of varied ways that you can approach this Champion Stadium. So I've kind of taken some of my own ideas and combined them with ideas from there. So when I'm setting up for Champion Stadium, I like to first take a look at what the weaknesses are, and then take a look at what each parameter is. So I try and match them up. So if I know that something is weak to fire, for example, and you've got your field effects, I'll go in with a team of Charizard, Blaine and a support, so that you can set Sunny Day and Charizard's just going to blow them away. If it's, for example, status conditions are more likely to take effect, then I know that I'm going to be using either Koga or Leaf with Venusaur, because those are status conditions that are really useful to have, and then build a team around those. So for round 1, your parameter was try not to let any of your sync pairs faint. I chose to take on Bruno for this one, as his weakness was fairy types, so I thought that would be a great opportunity to use Granbull and Xerneas. So I set Xerneas as the first target, then Granbull, and then I went in with Alakazam as well to get the reflect so that you could reduce the attack damage coming in. So the strategy was to take out the left and the right first. That would drop the stats of the remaining sync pairs for the opposition and hopefully make it easier to take out the one in the middle, which is always the hardest. My strategy here was to use 2 bar moves with Xerneas and Granbull, mostly Charm with Granbull to reduce the attack, and then use buffs with Alakazam. And the reason I was only using 2 bar moves was because I wanted to get to that first sync as quickly as possible, and you want to do that with Xerneas because his sync move is amazing. You get a boost to your special attack, special defense and speed, and once you've got that, because the speed of every sync pair is so high, that move gauge zooms up quickly each time. So the reason I chose Xerneas to be targeted first was because I wanted to make use of Horn Leech, so that refills your HP, it drains some HP from the opposition and gives it back to you. And that was quite effective. By the end, every time I was using Horn Leech, I was getting like 700 health points back, which, as you can imagine, really helps to keep your units staying upright, and especially when you don't want them to faint because of the parameters, it's a huge boost to have. Now, close combat can hit quite hard, so if you are using that Horn Leech as a bit of a tactic, if you see it queued up, you want to make sure that your next move is a Horn Leech to try and pull back some of that HP that you've lost. If you're at a point where your sync move is up and your Xerneas already has full HP, it doesn't make much sense to use it in that situation, because you get an HP refresh, you get your move gauge refreshed, but you don't actually do any damage with it. So when you've got Granbull in there, you can use that, and by the end I was actually doing quite a decent amount of damage with the Granbull sync, so that was quite useful to have. And of course, with Charm wearing down the attack of all of the other sync pairs, it meant that I wasn't taking too much damage each time. You can also use Moonbeam as a move for Xerneas, that will put out a decent amount of damage as well. I was careful not to raise the defense too high with the parameters that I chose, because I still wanted my Horn Leech, when I used it, to do a fair amount of damage so I could get the HP back. So for round 2, your condition was the move gauge bar refills a lot more quickly for allies and opponents. For this one, I went in with a Ghost Team and Swanna, so Swanna first, and then Gengar, and then Morty and Drifblim in the middle. With this one, I wanted to try something I've not really experimented before, which is sleep chaining. I'll leave a link in the description to a more in-depth guide of what that is, but basically you pick someone on the opposition team and you try and get them to sleep as much as possible. It takes a bit of timing and a bit of know-how to pull it off successfully, but it can be very effective when you've got an opposition unit that's asleep 90% of the time, and that protects you from some of the big hits. So with this one, to get to the first sync, you want to be using the trainer moves of Swanna, which is Take Flight. You want to be boosting Morty and Drifblim as much as you can, obviously sleeping Xatu when it's awake, and using Shadow Ball when it's not. I steered clear of using the move that boosts Gengar's speed, because you get a speed boost from Swanna anyway from Take Flight, and I also didn't want to take that HP hit. So you want to sync with Swanna first, because if you have her at 6x, you get a 50% buff to your, you get a 50% extra buff to all of your stats. So it's 50% on the first sync move, But then if you use Swanna with 6x, her 6x makes it 100% boost, and you can see where that's more useful. So it means your subsequent sync moves with either Drifblim or Gengar are going to hit that much harder. And if you do follow that advice, you'll see that when Morty syncs, he does hit pretty hard. I mean, Xatu was taking a lot of damage from Morty syncs, and then you follow it up with Phantom Force, where he ducks down and disappears, and which I always think is quite a funny move to use. So you're most likely not going to take Xatu down before it gets in its first sync move, and you want to make sure that your ghost units here are at full health, because when it hits, it's going to leave you with a tiny little bit at the end, so you want to use Swanna's potions for that. Afterwards, you want to keep Swanna up for as long as you can, because she's going to tank through, and if you have Gust with move refresh 9, you basically get a free move every time, and that will bring your sync count down each round. I made a bit of an error when I actually completed this one, but I was lucky that it didn't cost me. So I used Lick on Alakazam one time, and it caused paralysis. At the time I was thinking, oh yeah, that's good, that's what I wanted. Paralysis will be good on Alakazam, because there's a chance when Xatu's sleeping, when Alakazam tries to use a move, it's going to be paralysed and it's not going to do any damage. But when it came down to it, it meant that I couldn't then sleep Alakazam and get those free hits in at the end. So I as I said, I got very lucky. Gengar fainted, and then Alakazam used a move before I could kill it with Drifblim, and I was lucky that Last Words took it out. So it actually took down all of my units, but I was lucky that last move got in there and wiped out Alakazam first. It might make sense to put Drifblim as your second target after Swanna, so that you can get more of a benefit from that last word. So it will do a hell of a lot of damage to the remaining units as it faints. And then if you've still got one up there, you've got Gengar left in reserve to use Shadow Ball or Hypnosis or something to finish off any units that are remaining. So one mistake I did make, I should have put no stat reductions in there. So Xatu is immune from having its stats lowered anyway. The side 2, they can still have their stats lowered, but it doesn't make as much of a difference than the main striker. So if you put that in, that's 100 points that you can use there, and you can save somewhere else. So maybe you take off defense or attack, so you are able to take more hits or do more damage when you make an attack. As I was sleep chaining, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to take out the side units first, but there wasn't much mileage in that, because there's still a chance that your Hypnosis with Gengar is going to fail, and Xatu's going to unleash an attack that does a lot of damage, and you're not going to survive a second sync move. So you really want to take down Xatu before it gets there, and if you're taking out the side units first, it's damage that you're not doing to the middle, and most of the time Xatu was getting to that second sync move before I could kill it anyway. So round 3, your parameter was that field effects would be permanent. I went into this one with Blastoise, Abomasnow and Dugong. I was going for a bit of a hail team, and then with Blastoise you've got the 2 advantages of move gauge boost from To the Top, and if you sync it first you get endurance from all of your units. So that was what I was aiming to do. You set up hail, you boost Dugong stats in the middle, and you use defense all and To the Top to get down to that first sync move. You use it with Blastoise. Because you're not using the move gauge with anyone else, you can boost Abomasnow stats with It's All About Focus, and that's, you're not really taking anyone else's move points away. So I found that as a good way to have a bit of a freebie with the move gauge. I also had Snow Shelter as Blastoise's lucky skill, which helped it not take hail damage, but it also meant that I wasn't resistant to poisoning. So after its sync move, it did get poisoned by Koga, which meant that I couldn't really use any moves. I wanted it to just stand there and tank and take all of the hits while Dugong and Abomasnow did their thing. And it worked reasonably well, because Dugong, if you have a Hail sync grid, it can put out a decent amount of damage. So you only want to use one direct hit buff with Price, because you'll get an extra crit buff when Blue uses to the top. You might even get two if you need to use a move point. You can use that twice. You won't get the extra move gauge boost, but you will get a boost to your crit rate, and then you just spam Icy Wind and hope that you take down all of their units with the snow and the ice before they take you down. I tried going in to this one with Glalie, because she has regen all, and if you put a sync grid together, you can put Hail grid together, but I found that I just wasn't able to tank the hits with her, and the regen wasn't doing enough to bring her health up, so she could like survive a hit, but then she would get like a tiny bit back and she would just faint anyway. Whereas with Blue, you get that extra defense and you get that endurance, and it's always useful to have that endurance with all of your sync pairs. So round 4, your condition was physical attacks do more damage. I started off trying to go in with Steven and Metagross, because I thought, well, yeah, he's a good attacker. I really want that Metagross Meteor Mash Iron Head Bullet Punch combination. But I just found that I wasn't doing enough damage with it to justify. So eventually I had to switch it out, and I was going in with Venusaur first, then Oshawott, and then Lucario. So the benefit of having Venusaur is the poison, mega healing, and potions. Just such a great unit to have pretty much on any team. Oshawott for boosting attack and crit rate with his new grids, and also speed. And then Lucario because Karens are all weak to fighting types. You also get flinch with Oshawott, which comes in useful, so you want to make sure if you are using Waterfall that that's going third. So you want to power up Lucario as much as you can using Corina's trainer moves. You want to set Poison with Venusaur and either flinch or boost stats. I was going for flinch, so there was only 2 of them using the move gauge, and you want to save some of those trainer moves for later when you're using 3-point moves for close combat, and you want to still use a move with Oshawott, but you don't want to be using the move gauge as much. So I like to save Mega Healing for after the first sync. I think if you get in there quickly enough and you get your 3 moves first and you're using 3, 3, 3, that's your 9 moves and you're down to your sync move anyway. If you use Mega Healing, you're not gaining an extra round on that. And quite a lot of the time you do your first sync move, you queue up 2 moves, and then before you can get your 3rd move in, the other teams come in and they've put a move in. So that almost saves you a round of using Mega Healing there. Plus you're probably not taking very much damage at that point, and it just means that you're getting that healing more when it matters. And then from there you're just using close combat as much as possible. You're trying to keep Venusaur upright for as long as possible and flinch where you can. With this one, the one that's really going to do you in is the evasion. So Karen comes in and she's got 2 evasion already, and then she uses X evasion all to raise the evasiveness of all of the units on that team. And it's a real bugger. It's really frustrating to sit there and be like, close combat, missed. Waterfall, missed. Razor Leaf, missed. And it's like, you've not done any damage, and she's still standing there and she's smiling at you. It's annoying. So you could consider using someone who's got piercing gaze, so Red and Charizard would be a good option in that situation. So you could also go for a trap team, so Masquerain Infestation never misses, And then if you pair it with someone like Koga and Starmie, then you can raise their evasiveness as well. And it's about, ooh, who's going to hit first? Are you going to hit me? Am I going to hit you? So it's a battle of the evasives. And then finally, after all that's done, you come to Lance. I saw that Lance was weak to water this week, and I thought, problem solved. I don't need to worry about this one at all. I just get a support, I get Elisa in there with Rotom, and I get Barry in there. And I just drop the Barry bomb as many times as I can. I use Breathtaking to keep that sync counter going down, 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 and then just... Barry bomb, baby little Barry bomb. I want him in my wigwam. Those were all very weird. I don't know why I did that. That didn't happen. I tried so many variations to try and get this to work. I tried Rotom. I tried using Wallace. I tried using Kukui. I tried using Rosa. I tried using Jasmine. I'll put up, because there's loads of them that I tried using in the end. I tried using Onyx. I tried using Misty. I tried using Janine, Koga. All of these different units, and nothing would work for me. So eventually I gave up with the idea of Barry just sync nuking Charizard. Because the thing that's really annoying is when Charizard syncs, the next move he uses is X Regen. And whatever parameters I was putting on there, he was just overcoming them. Either my sync move wasn't doing enough damage, or Barry wasn't doing enough damage between times, and it's like he would almost have healed back all of the health I took away from using my previous sync move, and then I didn't have anything that could do enough tanking to keep me upright. And even then, if I did manage to take Charizard down, you've still got two other units and they're going to blow you away because you've not got much left at that point. And I did try using lots of different strategies. I tried maxing strength, maxing attack, maxing defense and tanking through. A combination of that. I tried giving it healing from the start, and so annoying. Thinking on it, I probably should have saved either Blastoise or Alakazam, and then I could have had that boost to defense and then Blastoise tanking, or I could have used the reflex so that the attack damage was reduced, and then Alakazam has also got healing on some of its moves, so that maybe would have been more helpful. But by that time I'd already used them because I didn't think I would have to worry about it. So the team I eventually did go in with was Jasmine and Steelix, Koga and Crobat, and Masquerain, because I was going for the Poison Trap combination. The optional condition I chose for this one was field effects are permanent, so if you do that, if you use Clang with Jasmine, you get permanent crits protection and permanent protection from stat reduction. So I thought both of those would be quite useful because Charizard can hit hard, and if you're protecting yourself from those critical hits, you're hopefully going to stay upright a lot longer. The other advantage of having Steelix is with the sync grid that I've got, when Steelix syncs, it gets some health back and it fills up your move gauge. So it was mostly about the health, but the move gauge is useful to have as well. So the strategy is you trap, in this order, you trap Charizard and then you trap the two sides. You then, and that's with Masquerain, with Koga, you try and poison Charizard. If you get him first time, you can then go after the two sides, but it's not as important if you don't get him first time because they're only going to have one move each before it all starts going on to Charizard. After you've poisoned them, or Charizard at least, you want to be using X speed. The sync grid I've got means that when you raise Crobat's speed, you also raise the evasiveness of the 2 units either side. So that helps as you get further into the battle and Charizard starts bringing out Flare Blitz, which hits really hard. He's got a chance that he's going to miss. And that does become very useful further in. See, that's another strategy I was trying to use. I was trying to use evasiveness with Misty and Crobat, and it just seemed like Flare Blitz never missed when I needed it to. It's like, it would miss in the early game, and then when it was really getting down to it, it's like, oh, I just need to tank this hit, and then I can do. But no, it just hits every time, right in my face. Masquerain also has their own healing, which comes in very useful. You've got to make sure also that you keep Charizard trapped. So it'll be after their sync move that the trap wears off. It should be somewhere around your 3rd sync. So when you see you're getting down close to that 3rd sync move, you want to be targeting Charizard with Infestation again rather than Struggle Bug and getting everyone. That regen though, it really, really hurts. So for that period between their 1st sync move and like their 2nd sync move, you're not really going to be doing much damage. You're going to be doing a little bit because your trap is quite effective, but it's going to heal back most of the damage that you do with badly poisoned. So that's what has made this week so tough, is that you think you're getting somewhere and then it's like, oh, it's healed. Oh, it's healed. Oh, it's healed. And that's it. That's how I got to 7,500 points on this week's Champion Stadium. I really do like the Champion Stadium. A lot of the time I finish it on sort of Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and I'm like, yeah, I finished. Oh, I've not got anything to do for the rest of the week. Oh, that sucks. And a couple of times I've restarted it just so that I could try something else again. But it's a really good game mode. I was sceptical about it at first, but now that I've really gotten into it, it's a challenge every week. And it's like, right, how am I going to get to 7.5k? And that was my week in Pokemon Masters X. Next week, it's going to be the Full Force battle and a bit more on the egg event. You've got Lacias in the Legendary Arena, so I'll be going through some of how I got through that. We'll have a refresh on Champion Stadium as well. So if you liked this video, thank you very much for watching it. Let me know what you liked, what maybe you'd like to see in another episode, what you disliked, and hopefully we'll turn this into a bit of a series. But thank you very much for watching this first one, and goodbye. Barry Bomb, baby little Barry Bomb, I want him in my wigwam.